everyone know they're being recorded and transcribed, which is automatic, and I guess I'm not going to complain because sometimes listening to these recordings, I'm not always able to hear everything. So I'm gonna count that as a happy positive. So some of you were here for the last meeting, and we did this smaller conference room because we didn't anticipate that there were going to be so many people. So I did not make the same decision this time, because for a budget ratification meeting, I will be honest, as your manager in 10 years, we've never had one person show up ever. So while we knew that we were gonna have people that still had questions and wanted to come and ask them, the purpose and intent of the budget ratification meeting is either to accept or reject the budget. Our documents are even more restrictive than the law. And so the law says, and it's in here at some point, but the law says, unless the documents impose stricter standards, that you would need the majority amount. Our documents actually say 80%. So 80% in a 123 unit community means that I would have to have 100 people in a room to reject the budget. And therefore, I have to be prepared that 100 people could show up, right? So that's the reason why we're in the big room today. But I want to thank everybody for coming. I will reiterate again and again, I think that probably the only silver lining in this process is having homeowner engagement, which I've been asking for 100 years, it feels like. And I would like us all to be engaged on positive things and happy things. But if this is how we start, then that's okay. That means that we're rebuilding and that we're building our community to be better and stronger, and everybody being actively engaged. So I appreciate that. First item on the agenda is call to order and introductions. So we are at 10:08 a.m. May I have the board introduce themselves, please?
Chuck Wright, board president.
Pam Lowry, treasurer. And I'm Tricia Yost. I am the secretary.
And for the intents and purposes of doing so, I'm Michelle Woven. I'm your community manager.
Christina Brown, Regional Director.
So this is your team. Homeowner open forum. So homeowner open forum for a budget ratification meeting, same as every other one. The only item on the agenda is the budget. So everybody has 3 minutes. You're welcome to make a statement. My goal is to ensure that your questions are answered, because I feel like I've been trying to do that, but it doesn't always come across that way, especially in email and those types of things. So I'm going to turn it over to each of you. Have you figured it out?
Oh,
All right, cool.
okay.
All right. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Alexander Boftovich. This is my mom, Irina Camp. We live at 29 via Mantova. We're here today because the board members as well as the management have been committing fraud and stealing money from the community. And I brought some documents to pass out. Michelle has been giving herself $12,000 salary for a couple of weeks. Charles was fixing his own golf cart and charging it as an expense for the community. Let's see. We got, excuse me.
Let us finish, please.
Excuse me. We got Blackburn Pest Control invoices that instead of paying the company, they're paying it on a pay card, a debit card. And there's a deceased employee listed on bank statements of the community. And I can pass this around. You can look at it. So basically, these people, and I've been emailing First Service since July of 2022. They know about all of this. They have been ignoring it as well. So now we've come to this, that there's no more money left in the community, and they want us all to pay money to restore those funds. One question I do have is budget ratification. Is it supposed to be done before the fiscal year begins?
In a world where we are able to approve the budget before the fiscal year ends, yes.
So how can you approve a budget after the year has begun?
Because the budget is not always ready to be approved by the end of the fiscal year. So there were things that were required prior to doing so. So therefore, those things have to be rectified before the
Mhm.
budget can be approved.
And you said 80% of the votes, but on the document itself sent by First Service, it says the majority, which is 51% or more of residents, not 80%.
Correct. So the law states that the majority, unless the documents are more stringent.
Mhm.
So it's standard verbiage as far
Mhm.
as a majority. Here is what I hope. In a situation,
So to read the specific statement, it says in accordance with Nevada law NRS 116.31151, unless at that meeting a majority of all units owners or any larger votes specified in the declaration, the CCNRs, reject the proposed budget is ratified. So that is standard verbiage, but it does indicate if your documents are more stringent,
Mhm.
that would supersede.
Okay. And basically, my question is, I've emailed the vice president of First Service, the president. I've told him about, I have all the emails. You can pass these around as well. Beginning in July of 2022, I have been reporting what's going on here. Nobody paid attention, and here's what we come to right now. All the funds are stolen by these people right here,
I think you're.
and no one is taking any responsibility.
Alexander.
And the association's financials are audited by a third-party vendor every single year. Any complaints or concerns that are raised, we will take a look into that. If they are unfounded, there will be no changes. Homeowners also have the ability to submit a complaint to the ombudsman's office, and those can also be investigated.
And I'll finish one last sentence. The main thing about this, deceased person on bank statements, previous employee of First Service, she passed away in 2021. She is still being used, her name is still being used on those bank statements to this day. That is a federal crime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
all right. Next. Cass, we're in homeowner open forum, so if there's anything that you would like to speak and say? Okay.
No?
No?
I had one comment.
Awesome.
My question is, obviously we've agreed on, I guess, a way to address this. You sent that information out, the homeowners can pay the 7 and then shoot, or they can pay the 13 and then obviously the dues go. My question is because it's not gonna be fully funded for a while, and I understand why, but things happen, at the meeting last time, the pool, okay? It is supposed to be at South Shore, a premium condominium. Do you believe our budget is able to account for things that could happen? The pool breaking again, the elevator breaking again, the door, 15 via Mantova's, the gate's broken a ton, and I understand that costs a lot of money. When I walk out of my condo and I go to the right, okay, I had my sister and brother-in-law visiting, it's cracked all over the place. At some point it has to have maintenance, and I understand we may not be in a position to do it today, but do you feel that things that, maybe we can't do the floors right now, but if the pool breaks, are we in a position to fix it? Are we in a position to fix elevators? How is that accounted for in our budget versus the reserves? Because a lot of it should be in the budget, I believe. That's my question.
Does anybody else want to take a stab at it?
I can.
Okay.
So, I believe the answer to your question is yes, and appreciate you realizing it's not gonna happen yesterday.
Yeah, I understand, ma'am.
And thank you for that. When we did the new reserve study, and what we've been trying to communicate is there were 31 or 32 items that weren't included in the past reserve study. And that's why this is so, grand is not the right word, but, we're seeing such a big difference. We have to take account for those additional 32 items. And in that regard, that's creating the special reserve assessment. And, go ahead.
Hold on, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to take up his time. So what
Oh,
he's
okay.
asking is if our operating is capable of supporting the day-to-day maintenance. So,
With the new budget, I believe so, because we've gone through and between increases like inflation and our increases from our vendors, we've gone through and we have specifically increased that. And like reserving, I know that there's a confusion between reserve expense and operating expense. I believe we're going to be able to better serve the community now because we have a bigger picture and we know what we're dealing with now. It wasn't just so.
No, I understand that.
My comfort level is, yes, the age of the community is gonna speak to us as well.
Sure, it's an issue, correct.
Is we found out with, the fire system.
I mean, I've been there since 14, 10
Right,
years.
right.
And that, the building was built, 10 years before I bought it, so.
Right.
Can I have a follow-up with my time up?
No,
So-
so I took up some of your time, so.
I
Okay.
just want to touch base on that as well. So this is the first budget where we took here's what we know we're spending,
Right,
and here's what we know we can anticipate.
right.
So we've had some questions about contingencies, right? Can
Right.
we build a contingency in the budget? The in case stuff happens section of a budget so that there's a little bit of a pillow or a cushion underneath that. And in Nevada, we have a zero balance budget. So whatever numbers are in there, they're allocated towards either we know this is gonna cost this or we anticipate based on knowledge and experience or NV Energy 3% increase, all those
Right.
things.
I just hope we're in a position, because obviously the pool broke last year, and I'm sure if I was in your shoes, I probably wouldn't have done it either. I get mathematics, but I just hope we're building for that. My second question is, listen, I understand compassion. I got both sides of it. This is a burden for all homeowners, I understand that. But do you think it affected, offering the payments over the 20-some months versus people paying in full from what you expected? Have you accounted for that? Because obviously there's no interest rate involved, so, somebody may change their mind, if they so choose to. Is that gonna be an issue? Have you accounted for that?
So I don't think it'll be an issue. What I think that we built was what is the best way to accommodate both the
I understand.
requirements by law and our homeowners.
Right,
So the reason that 7,000 was the initial payment amount
right,
is that was the amount that satisfied the legal requirements that we needed to meet in order to proceed.
right.
So we had the conversation in that budget meeting about the real estate division and saying if we were gonna end 2024 below 50% funded in the reserve,
Right.
the real estate division has the ability to come back to us and say, nice try, do it again.
Right.
So it not only doesn't alleviate the pressure of doing it, but also then costs homeowners more money
Right,
by
but the
having to
7,000
prepare.
accounts get you over the 50% threshold, correct?
The 7,000 puts us over the 50%.
Right.
So with that and the increased monthly reserve contribution,
Got it.
we were able to confirm the numbers on the form submitted to the real estate division and
Right.
show by the end of 2024, we'll be at 54%, and by the end of 2025, we're at 73 to 75%.
That was
And
my
a big part of that depends on interest and all
Okay.
those things as well.
Yeah, so the 7,000 is a nice number, because it can accomplish both aspects of it.
Right.
It accomplished both, it allowed for both. Come on in, just make sure you sign in on there real quick. It allowed for both, it accomplished both, and it gave us the ability for the homeowners that was really a stretch to come up with the large amount up front. It was the biggest stretch that we could offer, and it worked out perfectly almost because it was almost halfway. It was almost half up front and half after. And in
Right.
addition
As long as
to
it accomplishes the overall, that was my question.
correct. So I'm gonna turn the time back over to you. I have a little bit more to expand on that, just so that while we're all here together, and this is the conversation at hand, but I want to give everybody the floor. Anybody else have homeowner open forum? No?
Is there a
Howard?
plan to get us to the 100%? This new assessment, we're getting 150 a month more, part of that going to the
So
Get us to 100%?
$162 per month per unit total. The increase of that was $105 per unit per month increased. So, and as opposed to everybody throwing in $50 every month, everybody's putting in 162. So those contributions every month are part of, if you look at the reserve study, you'll see the graph with the anticipated expenses and the amount of contributions and how it reflects to get us to 100%. A big part of that is going to be navigating payments and when they're received and how they're received over the next couple of years. So we have also discussed as part of the plan to reassure, are we heading in the right direction? A finance committee so that there are non-board members, non-management people involved in looking at those finances every month and saying, we're heading in the right direction, or hey, we need to make some changes. And in addition to that, doing a financial update to the reserves once a year, probably not until next year, because this whole thing is gonna take a second to balance out. We're approving the budget for implementation on March 1st. The second set of payments starts on May 1st. So in order for us to do a financial update at the end of this year might be a little, it might not be as useful. At the end of next year, when we're concluding those special assessment payments, we're gonna have a really good understanding both on the finance committee making investments with the money that goes above and beyond what the immediate needs are or the anticipated immediate needs are, and what kind of interest that is generating in those types of things as well. So with that, doing that financial update with the reserve study every year is going to give us a document and a report that we can present to homeowners every single year that says, here's where we are, here's how we're heading, whether we're heading, you know, towards something, we're gonna see that. It's going to be in the documents, it's going to be in the report so that you know and we know and everybody knows exactly where we are so long as they look at the information.
What did you mean by the second set of payments? I thought we paid March 1 and then the dues are March 1 too, right?
March 1 is the initial lump sum payment of $7,000, and May 1st, if you're making the payments, is the first payment in that 20-month period. So when we staggered that, so it wasn't mushed all together so that March was a really big hit.
Michelle, quick question. How come, I know you're always explaining this, but how come the presidents or the board never explain these things? Because they know all about this, they approve it and disapprove it. So I'm just asking, how come they never explain it in as detail as much as you do?
Because that's what we paid her for.
It's my job. It's my job. It's
Well, there's-
what I do to support the community. And also, part of my role is knowing the information that has to be included because I receive all of the questions. I receive all the insight. So while they might know the information in the material is what has generated all of the questions to begin with. So I receive the input from 123 people, and while they may see those emails and they may see that correspondence, I'm receiving phone calls and emails and all of those things. And in a meeting like this where we're reserving a room space, it's just for efficiency.
It's just based on the laws. I know they signed up for this role, you know, they have responsibilities and you can't just pass those on to someone else and hire someone else. Yes, you're there to help them, but if they have no idea what in the world is going on based on what they're saying today, that's how it is. I mean, the president's supposed to know everything about the community. If you ask him a question, he either won't answer or doesn't know anything at all. So that's just my comment.
Is there anybody else who has questions for Homeowner Open Forum?
I have a question about the 7,000. That was, we were notified of that, what, 4 weeks ago? Was it?
We what? I'm sorry?
When did you notify us of the 7,000? Was that 4 weeks ago?
January 27th is the date that the board adopted the budget.
And the payment is due March 1st?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any option for someone to do that in portions, if they can?
To get what?
Is there an option for someone to pay that in installments?
So the installments are following that. So the total assessment amount for the special reserve assessment is $13,420. The initial payment of $7,000 is due on March 1st, and the remainder of that $13,000 is spread out over a 20-month period beginning on May 1st. So if there is a challenge in that initial situation, by all means, reach out so that we can help you navigate that as much as possible, which is what I'm offering. If there's some way that we can put our brains together and help, this wasn't something that anybody wanted to implement or expected to implement. So we made it as easy to swallow as it is. But as far as anything specific, please reach out to my office. I'm more than happy to put our heads together and see what I can do to help. But in general, this was the only way to accommodate the needs of the community as a whole and meet the requirements that we had. Anything else, Fred? No?
For now.
All right, so from Homeowner Open Forum, I put this up because we were talking about the difference between the two. As far as ratifying or rejecting, so the real estate division's verbiage says, unless the declaration of a CIC imposes more stringent standards, which down below is the CCNRs, and I did include a copy over there as well. The CCNRs in 7.8.1 do outline the terms of the budget process and the ratification process so that you guys have that information there. I do have a number of, another first for me, which I didn't anticipate in advance of this. I think we kind of all, again, I've in 10 years never had anybody show up to a budget ratification meeting, so we did have a homeowner ask for an absentee ballot, which we had to kind of create because it didn't exist. But in an effort to make sure that everybody's voice was heard, we did that. And anybody who requested one received one. We received a total of 8 requests. We have 6 ballots total received by Dropbox or by mail. And so I will ask for the intents and purposes of the meeting. All those in favor of approving the budget, raise your hand. All those against or wanting to reject the budget. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
And Michelle, for the purposes of the absentee ballots, how many were in favor and how many were against?
That's what they're counting right now. One is left.
Either no, one is yes.
5 no. 1 yes. Okay, for the intensive audio, because I do know that the people who requested are people that were not able to be here. So we have a total of 5 ballots rejecting the adoption of the budget that was approved by the board on January 27th, 2024, and 1 absentee ballot accepting the adoption of the budget. And in person, we had 4 units opposed and 1, 2, 3, 4 accepting. So that is 9 votes to reject and 5 votes to accept. Oh, you guys all get to vote.
But we get to vote. There we go.
Would you like your guys' votes counted as well?
Yes,
We'll
please.
change that to 7.
Yes.
Okay, so that concludes the business portion of the meeting. I want
For
to,
clarification, it includes, the budget is deemed ratified as we did not meet the 80% of homeowners to come and reject it. So that budget will go into effect March 1st.
March 1st, 2024. That being said, a big thank you to everybody who's in this room. I've been your manager for longer than all of our board members at this point. And in that time frame, I've wanted everybody to be involved and together. There's a lot of questions or thoughts about transparency or about things not being answered or things not being disclosed. Please, by all means, we're an open book. I'm an open book. Those of you who know me know that. If you have questions, call me, email me, come by the office. Happy to answer them. Trying to answer them via email, but it's hard because sometimes things are lost in translation. Anything else that you guys would like to offer?
Again, I'm gonna reiterate what Michelle said. Thank you for being involved, being here, making the time. We appreciate it. And like Michelle said, I'm a very new homeowner, not quite 2 years here, so this is, this hit me hard as well. Getting the community involvement is imperative to keeping the communication open and not having what happened with what we're going through now. It's instinctive to just, somebody else is dealing with it. So until you get hit with the bill and then it's also, how come we didn't know? You have to be involved. If you're not gonna be involved, you cannot not be at the end of the stick starting to complain. Please be involved. We have asked for people to be on a finance committee. How many people have responded? 4 out of 123 residences. Granted, we can't have all 23 part of but I just want people to be involved, and understand that I believe your hours are 8 to 5, is that correct? Monday through Friday. Michelle does not work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yes, I do.
Well, she does.
And then
She
more.
goes above and beyond.
Double that.
Please respect that unless it's an emergency, unless it's dire need, she deserves her weekends and her holidays to herself. Yes, I know things happen, people get stuck in the elevator, people, we've all been through these issues with the fire system, whatnot. You have to respect boundaries with Michelle as well. She's fabulous at her job. We can't run this community without her. We cannot run this community without an on-site manager.
Exactly.
Because if you think we're paying now, imagine what it would be if we did not have her on site. Enjoy the elevator if you're stuck in it if she's not here, because it's gonna be either when the fire department can come or the elevator company can come. It's not really her responsibility to get you out of there, but she cares enough to do it. I just want everyone to know, and whoever listens to this, to understand how valuable this woman is to us.
That's right.
And that's all I'm saying.
Could I say something about homeowner involvement? Since 2022, and I've talked to Charles in 2022 about cracks in outside of our house, cracks in the fence, rats in the community, roaches. I've talked to him in 2022. I have been engaged with the board, with you, Michelle, since July of 2022. None of these issues have ever been addressed. We had a mouse infestation a few months ago. The cracks are still there. None of it has been addressed. You're sitting there saying you want community involvement. I've been doing that. What have you done to fix any of these issues? Nothing. You just denied everything.
I'm
Can
gonna,
I answer that?
yeah, please.
I appreciate your comment. We are aware of your involvement. we are working to fix these things because we need the money to be able to pay to fix these things.
All of the concerns have been addressed. Please, Rob.
So we're addressing the concerns.
Well, a year ago, you had 700,000 in your bank accounts, and last month it was $8,000. So you knew all this time the money was disappearing somewhere. What have you done?
I'm not gonna have that give and take with you.
No, because
right now.
you don't even look at the finances. During the last meeting, you approved the number which does not exist. So that basically tells me you don't even know what's in your bank accounts.
Okay.
So I
Thank you
have
for
been
your
involved,
statement. Thank you.
but we get nothing in return.
That was
Do you
mine.
have
Thank
any-
you for letting me have mine.
Anything?
I mean, I can echo a little bit of what Tricia said about Michelle's work habit and things like that. It's really good. She does so much for the community. She goes over and above, and we're glad to have her and grateful to have her. Without a on-site manager, it'd be horrible.
So you're okay with her stealing money, which is your responsibility?
Alexander, I believe you had your
Alexander,
time.
I think you've beat this stealing money.
It is, I've proven it. I've
So at
reached,
this
oh,
time, those are unfounded. Again, if you have concern, the association's financials are audited by a third party. If you still have those concerns, I encourage you to file a complaint with the ombudsman's office, who holds a license over Michelle and myself, and they can also investigate.
I've talked to the ombudsman's office. They said about the complaints that I have, they don't take care of them. It's a federal, investigation to that.
Then you're more than welcome to explore those options.
Sure,
Those are unfounded
Sure.
at this time.
those are founded.
Agree to disagree.
Yes.
Vernon and I moved in, we were there multiple years before Michelle was on site. And when the fire alarm and elevator issues would happen, it was not pretty to sit there and wait. So and I agree, it's invaluable having her on site.
Do you remember when I started and the fire alarms went off every Friday night between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m.? So I worked for South Shore and Mantova. I'll get right to you, but to that extent, my kids begged me not to go back to Mantova because we spent every Friday night waiting for the fire protection company to come. So these improvements that we've seen over the years, for any of you who have seen me running when there's a fire alarm, I'm on the phone with our fire protection company and we're addressing those issues in real time. We're not waiting for an on-call person to go to an office and get in a truck and come out. We're able to address those things real time. We evaluated the options of being on-site versus not on-site when we lost the lease to number 2. We evaluated every single option under the sun to figure out what was the most financially and beneficial to the lives of every single resident in the community. And all of those things were evaluated. I'm here to be here for you. I'm not here because I have some outside reason to be here. I am very often joke with my children that I am married to my job, but they also just consider themselves the redheaded stepchildren in my life because Mantova always comes first. But I'm raising kids who care about that community the same way that I do because they see the care that goes into our community and they are a part of it. So thank you very, very much. I don't want to talk about me anymore, so please.
I have one thing.
Yes.
Listen, those of you that don't know me, I retired when I was 54. I didn't work to live, live to work. As soon as I could get out, but I ran a Fortune 500 company. Had budgetary issues all the time. I think in summary, does anybody want to be in this situation? Absolutely not. My guess is those three don't either. We can debate how we got here all we want. What I would challenge you, not ratifying this budget, and God bless it's ratified. You know what the financial loss would be if you did not? Your biggest asset is your condominium. okay? Go not ratify this board and let that get out in the community. I can't run into somebody that doesn't talk to me about this, okay? You're losing a hell of a lot more than $7,000, okay? Because you're not gonna be able to give that sucker away. I strongly encourage you, to be more involved. I certainly wasn't. And I strongly encourage you to understand the big picture. You're not an individual when you're part of a condo association. You're part of a ship. You gotta row the boat. And we can all be, hey, I don't wanna do it, neither do I. But we gotta get this thing up and running, and the day that this condo, complex is not a premium condo, you're gonna understand what financial loss is. So I strongly encourage us to work hard to make it as good as we can, as quick as we can. That's why I asked about, can we handle expenses? You don't want that elevator broke. You'd be walking up the stairs with those groceries. I had to do it the other day because ours was down. Call 911. You know, so the bottom line is we gotta be able to do that. We gotta pull together. I'm much more focused on the downside if we don't get this thing moving forward, because I assure you it is out in this community. With that, God bless you all. Let's all work together. Have a good day.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for being, I put this on just about every meeting slide that we have. You guys are the best part of our community. This board has stood up and done the hard thing when
I'm
nobody
sorry,
else has
it is
wanted
what it
to
is.
for years. And that's all. Try encouraging people to stand up and do the right thing when the result is not positive. It's not an easy job right
You're the regional director from July 2022. I've been emailing these fraudulent documents.
Okay.
Who saw it? Let me show you.
any of
I was
nor was it intentional or.
Jennifer Huerta, Stephen Parker, Thomas Reed. They all saw the
Okay, I'll follow up with them.
And just to show you, because you're saying these are unfounded, usually their salary is around $4,000 a month, around that place. In 2 weeks, she made $12,000 during the year 2022. This is not unfounded. This is their documentation.
Okay.
This is not mine.
No,
This-
yeah.
Golf cart, maintenance golf cart, right? Chuck paid for it. I asked them to confirm which golf cart it was. They have no documentation, so you can't write off an unknown expense. This one, Blackburn Pest Control. All payments go to you. Make checks payable. That's what she proved it. The check was sent, didn't clear, but the same amount was
So
to a pay
when you
card.
see a virtual card, so our vendors can go and ask for a check, which is printed and mailed out, or they can do a virtual card, which is, most people can sometimes sit there and say, yeah, put my payments on a virtual
Okay,
card.
and that's what
And
they
so
could have
that's,
said.
that's what the virtual card
But
is.
this one, Elsa Gunzo,
Okay,
she
so,
passed away. I did my research. Back
so
in
that's something that we
she's-
just need to update as far as the person for, but the documents are still the association
But this is
documents.
fraud. This is fraud.
Okay, so I don't.
This is not unfounded.
Okay. And so there could be different circumstances. There could have been an increase in her, there could have been back pay, there could be different things in relation
they
to
sent
that.
me all those documents,
Yeah.
400 pages. I've looked them all over.
Okay,
There was no approval for half hour. She said because I wanted to get $50 an hour, that's what I did.
So-
Because they told me to buy this, that's what I did. She cannot prove any of these expenses approved by the board or disapproved.
so I can tell you, because she is salaried, her work hours are 8 to 5. When there is a fire emergency,
I
she
understand.
does that actually saves the association
But,
money, because if
you
you were
know-
to hire a security company, she charges a set fee, which is above and beyond. Our contract actually says for additional meetings outside of our contract, work after hours, it's actually $100 per hour. So she's actually worked with the
But
board
see,
because of those expenses.
This one I calculated ends up doing this, she worked 28 hours a day. Okay.
So I can take a look, and if you'd like for us to explore that more,
But
I'm
see,
more than happy,
and
but we
this-
do document the hours that she is working.
Well, that's what I asked her to provide. I never got those.
Okay.
And Stephen Parker, he's aware of all of this.
Yes,
I can,
Stephen
I
and
can.
Jennifer sent me over some information, and I looked at the videos that you had recently sent, yes, sir.
Perfect, yes, and you saw what's going on there. fake elections and everything like these are founded. I'm sorry. They never sent the ballots, they never did it. So Stephen Parker and Jennifer are aware of this, and Jennifer stopped responding to me. You know why? Because she had signed off on some of these documents. That's when I started questioning. So, who's doing what? That's a good question, but there's a federal level fraud going on here, and you guys knew about this since 2022 July, and nobody has done anything.
Okay.
No, not one person.
So, again, the concerns that you have brought up have been looked into on our end. We do not agree, and that's why I've made the statement that if you still feel that there is a violation,
But you do
do
not
have.
agree. Can you provide proof? Because see, I bring you documentation. See, I feel this is strange.
Okay.
If you show me documentation, no, this has a reason, I have no question.
So-
Michelle showed me some documents that, matched up, I have no question. But
So now you're still concerned about the
90
July 2022? Okay.
90% of the documents don't match up, have different years, nothing adds up. Money over the past 10 years have been disappearing. And there's no documentation to prove those expenses. I'm not just talking crap here, but that's based on the paperwork for service. It's not my words, it's what they sent.
So all invoices that come in will have an invoice. All of our transactions will have an invoice. Any
Yeah, but
payments
that's the
coming
problem,
in.
there's no invoice. What they sent, they don't make, there's no invoices for all these expenses.
So I would have to investigate that because I will tell you from what I look at, every one of our payables that go to the board have an invoice and a PDF that's been attached to it. Any expenses that we do, anything that's on a P card, there is a receipt that has to be tied to it.
And
All of
you're
all of those
saying
are
the truth.
documented. Yeah, and
Yeah,
all of
that's
those,
how
and
it's
that's why.
supposed to be. That's why, when I found out this in July of 2022, I had so many questions. I was like,
Yeah.
well, this is missing, that is missing. And the answers that I got, because they told me to do it, I did it. There's no proof.
So why don't I do this? You had concerns regarding July's 2022, the first week of the payroll. You had concerns regarding the Silver State golf carts. And then you had concerns regarding the fact that we still have
Yes.
an inaccurate employee's name on
It's
there.
not an
So,
inaccurate, it's just-
well, but the bank statement still references
that's
the wrong.
illegal. That's
So let
illegal.
me work on those 3 items. I am, full transparency, I am out of the office tomorrow. So can you give me the next week to start working on those and I can give you a progress report on where we
And
stand?
what can we do about the finances of the entire thing? Because I'm telling you, they've been stealing money. It's not my words, it's based on.
So what I would say is, as a homeowner, you are entitled to get a copy of the financials.
How do we go about contacting, because you guys have insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to contact your insurance so they can come and take a look? Because I think.
So the insurance company would not have anything to do with the audit.
Why not?
We have,
If there's fraud, the insurance company covers.
so
that
if there
fraud.
was a claim made against the insurance, but actually who audits the association's documents is, we have an accounting department. Our accounting department is segregated into different departments. Again, that's by law. We have a CPA that does audit the association's financials. Again, not affiliated with First Service Residential. They do an audit every single year with their summary and their financials, and they do all their GL reports. That's who we utilize for the
Well, maybe that's the
financials. The
problem.
insurance company would get involved. So I will tell you, if there's a claim that's made against the association, the first thing that the association does is they tender that claim over to the insurance, and they tender it over, or they notify the legal counsel. If insurance goes ahead and accepts that claim, then they go ahead and assign a claims adjuster, and they handle it. And then that is charged to the association, but that's part of the insurance process.
And it's, I don't like coming in here and pointing fingers at anyone, but see, the problem is I couldn't get any attention. And I'm saying maybe those people who did the audit didn't do it right. Because there's issues. There's no way anyone could have done that audit based on what I've seen. There's just no way. So that's why I kind of reached out. There's something going on.
That's what started the whole reaching.
Yeah, but everyone just ignored me. We had mice infestation. She said, oh, we'll look into it. Nothing. Roach infestation. Nothing. With cracks. The wall in the patio is just falling apart.
And we know
Nothing.
the cracks, the cracks are reserved. So typically if there's a rodent or pest infestation, we would address it with that particular unit. Because we're addressing it with a particular unit, we
No,
can't
but
always
it's all
tell
over
you.
the community. That's
Okay.
the problem.
So that's
It's
a common
everywhere.
area.
Because the Blackburn Pest Control, what I mentioned is because we have not seen that guy for a year. And I've contacted first Michelle, I asked her, I was like, I haven't seen him, maybe he, charges you but doesn't come by, can we check it out? Because I was concerned. She said, no, I see him. I was like, but I haven't seen him. I see him, so he is there. And I'm like, well, what? And that was what started this whole thing. It's just the community, there's no maintenance. And yet these all expenses are being written off.
So I'll add that as number 4. My item of concerns that you'd like me to take a look into is the Blackbird Pest Control. Okay.
Okay,
I
thank
can
you
do
so
that
much.
too.
Thank you, I appreciate
sir.
talking.